Good evening, and welcome to another segment of the New Black Leadership here live in the studios of Intellectual Radio, the studios of Intellectual Radio. And I'm so blessed, so honored, and really privileged to have this opportunity once again to come to you all over these live, precious airwaves that we really take very serious. And it's like having a mic in the village um, that you will um, scream out loud, or you will call out loud, alarm out loud, to help the people, to help direct the people. And I know that oftentimes people come over these airwaves, whether it's the radio, television, or social media, and don't really understand, well, maybe in their own way they do, the importance of trying our very best to know that whatever we do, it must be in line with Almighty God and uplifting His people. Although we might laugh, we might have some humor, but at the end of the day, the new black leadership is so thankful to Almighty God again for giving us the insight, the vision, and really the love for our people and humanity as a whole. And so today, to this evening, I am so honored to have here. And when I put my post out, I know Minister Mike looked at it, and probably if he did, like, brother, I called him the breath of fire. And you need that. You need somebody on your team that he's like a Westbrook, Russell Westbrook. He just come out on the court and he have no fear. And I don't either, but we all have a role to play in this work. And I'm so thankful that Minister Mike, that God fashioned you in the way that he did, and the way things are going, and gave you as a young student of many, and one that I could say for sure that I'm aware of, because I'm also a student and have been blessed to have in my life the guidance and the tutelage and the inspiration and motivation of our beloved honorable brother, Minister Farrakhan. And I'm so glad that the nation and the street organizations and the school organizations and the community organizations and the family organizations, your mentors, have all helped to shape you in the manner that they did. So, man, it's great to have you. Mike is always here, whether we're on canned television or here in the studio. He's always here, and I always make him laugh because my mother is like, where does Minister Mike come? I'm like, Mom, what about me? What do you mean, Minister Mike? But that's a blessing that my mom liked to be fired up, not with just rhetoric, but with relevance that is going to spur movement, action in a way that's so urgently needed, man, in this particular crisis and time that we live. So tonight, Minister Mike, I'm interviewing you. I got a few things to say. But anyway, bro, good to see you. Mike, what's going on?
Thank you, Brother Gregory. Thank you for such a wonderful commentary. And as we say in the vernacular, all praise is due to God.
That's right.
Because we didn't give ourselves life.
No.
Even though He bestowed the power of will in each of us to help discover who we believe we're born to be, and try to play our part in being shaped into that. There's always something bigger than us that has a hand in our outcomes.
That's right.
And I can bear witness that I have made many mistakes and a few errors.
Oh yeah, all of us.
But God is merciful.
That's right.
And he has protected me, as we say, from my faults. In our prayer, he's protected me from my faults and my defect in many small ways. Some ways that he's just protected me in a lot of different ways. And so there's always been a difficulty factor in every level you achieve in life. And so sometimes you're on a different level and you don't realize it. And what I mean by that is I had a lot of preparation as a very young man that led me to a very powerful man in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But that was another level. But because of the way that God made me, I just was about being who I am and doing what I had in me to do. But in truth, that was going to the highest level of mentorship. And in the midst of that, you sometimes you don't realize that, right? And so you being yourself, sometimes your naivety, sometimes your sincerity can work against you. Because as we were just listening to your wonderful father play Oliver Sane, I'm sure there were times when he walked in the studio and there were other horn players there, but when he started playing, the other horn players said, "Damn, I thought I was all right till this cat showed up," right? And so we all have those experiences in life, but you may not realize it. And in those circumstances, you go through great difficulty. You go through great challenges. You discover enemies that you really didn't make, but God made enemies for you. The same way he makes friends for you.
That's right.
He also makes enemies for you and anybody else like you. And so
Interesting.
So when I think over what you were saying, it's only by the grace of God that I've been able to survive to this day in my right mind and with a spirit that has not been destroyed. Because you meet a lot of spirit killers along the way. You meet a lot of people who want to dislodge you from your relationship, that sacred relationship that you develop with a mentor, with someone guiding you, someone who has their eye or their hand on you. And so it's almost like children in the household. They're upset because mom or dad may show you, give you a gift that they didn't give you, or everybody may not get the same gift all the time.
That's
so
right.
Sometimes we're very just simply immature and childish, and other ones of us, it brings out that satanic spirit in us. And so for us to sit here today, Brother Gregory, after many days of trying to, consume the kind of lessons you get from the environment, there's a body of knowledge and experience that when I look at today's activists, when I look at our elected officials, when I look across the board, there is a richness of experience. There's a body of knowledge and wisdom. There's a code of conduct and demeanor that if we apply what has been given to us, whether I had the fortune of being in the ministry class, but even if you were just in the general class, in any kind of way, paying attention, that gives you the ability to see the quality of leadership that's in front of Black people and what are the missing ingredients and why we're failing as leaders to affect more change for Black people. And so, as I watched Brother Baba Dick Gregory's services.
Yeah, I did too.
And I listened to Brother Minister Farrakhan and his matchless,
humble
representation.
But he was so humble.
Yes,
man,
right.
He lit up. You could see how lit he was and humble, man.
That's right.
But go ahead and finish that, because you said some things, bro, and finish that point. And I just want to come back and you espouse on the body of work, and actually you start talking about why we have not been able to put a dent in progress as it relates to being activists or leadership in all of those different areas. But you were go ahead about what you heard at the...
Well, I was going to say, when you look at, if you really know what you're looking at when you see Brother Minister Farrakhan, the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, I mean, that was a perfect environment for you to see what a real man of God looks like in the midst of other godly, great people. But there's something to him that has him even elevated above all of those. I mean, there's some powerful people in the room. Some powerful people took the stage. But when this man comes forward, there's something there that it's just matchless, right? And so that when people don't understand that is not the things you have to go through, the things that God will put a man through to elevate a man that way, to give a man that kind of energy, to give a man that kind of effect, to give a man that kind of clarity of message. Most of our leaders don't want to go through that and don't have any clue about what it takes to make a man like that.
Wow.
And so when I look today, especially here in Chicago, but it's everywhere, the biggest, we have a lot of people who just pop up in front of Black people. We have a lot of us that just get up and want to be elected official or want to be the next great activist. I mean, I looked at everything. You see people who take advantage of Black people. We take advantage of Black people's emotions, from the young brothers out there. Where was it? At the hotel where the young sister passed, Kanika. Well, those were opportunists. And I say that publicly. Jamal Green, Lamont Ricord, Jedediah Brown,
Andrew
Holmes, all of these are people who are opportunists, who wait for opportunities to set a stage where they can be viewed. You know those old Western movies, it was always a cowboy who rode in on a white horse. and that's the same psychology at work. Somebody sees an office they feel they can grab, but they have no experience. They've gone through no conditioning, no training, no mentoring. They have no clue about the legacy of Black politics in Chicago, but they feel as though they're capable of going for an office. But when they get in there, you find out they're impotent, they're fearful, they become mealy mouth, they don't speak up for black people, and we got all these elected officials, but we going around in circles and we trapped in a tower of Babel because we got people who pop up in front of black people, charge our emotions, but are incapable of delivering what God demands for black people today. And so we are blessed to have gone through something.
That's right.
That I don't say it to be arrogant or boastful, because I had multiple mentors that were great people, right? And that continuity led me to the greatest mentor you could ever have. But if you don't have a lineage behind you, if you don't have a leadership conditioning, training, rites of passage behind you, then a lot of us need to sit down, because we are not capable of fighting our enemy in an effective way. And in most of our groups and organizations, we don't put our best foot forward. We really don't. We judge a person based upon their ability to be seen on television.
And Minister Mike, you said a mouthful, seen on television. And I have looked, and I want to say this to those same characters, that character is not what you do around people, it's what you do when nobody else is around. And so you mentioned that, and man, it was almost like you went into my head when you articulated this whole piece of tutelage and not being arrogant and any of that boasting, but when the scripture said you boast in the Lord, and by boasted in the Lord meaning the truth, not some mystical relationship, but a real relationship with folks who brand you. I'm so glad. I wanted you to almost say some of the Muslim prayer, because when you talk about my faults and my protect me from against
my faults.
My faults.
I've been greatly unjust in myself.
I've been greatly unjust in myself. And I confess
it's my faults.
My faults. So letting people know that we all have to grow. But can you espouse on the principles of leadership? And you already have laid down the character. And so the minister, to me, being a standard bearer, can you lay down the principles? Because I thought about a situation years ago. I'm the moderator at today's Black Women Expo, and Barbara Dick Gregory is one of the panelists. There's two other panelists, and it was right after Hurricane Katrina. Now I'm the moderator. Here's Dick Gregory, a panelist. And what you said made me feel much better. It's like, that's what gave me the tenacity and the courage to introduce Baba Dick Gregory now with our ancestors the way I did, because being in a room with him, I knew that I was in the room with a man of God. Yet I was able to look at his bio and say, I ain't reading none of that. And he looked, I said, but he wasn't mad at me. He was like, wow, this man got some courage and sense. I said, y'all want to know about it? You go and read that. I'm going to introduce you to Mamie's boy, gave his address in St. Louis and brought him on. And Dick Gregory, he cussed. He said, man, that's the goddamn best introduction I ever had. What he was saying was, stop all the phony stuff, people, and just keep it real. Don't be disrespectful, but be relevant to the time. So Minister Mike, can you expound on those principles? And those that are listening, this is for life principles. It's not just for community activists, but it's if it's for marriage, it's for organization, it's for whatever type of title that you have, but just dealing with the struggle and because I want you to talk about St. Louis. You know, I want you to mention some things about where we are right now, but can you expound on these principles and then characteristics and how it relates to the pop-ups and what can they do, or do they need to sit down and just get the hell out the way or go get some help or humble themselves?
Well, the first principle is sincerity. And sincerity simply means that I have honest intent. I don't have an ulterior motive. So if I offer you encouragement, I'm not trying to, you know how we do when we in the wrong space with women. A man will flatter a woman just so he can lay her down, but after he lays her down, he may not have any interest in her whatsoever, right?
True
so
statement.
So that's not sincere.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So
or you're getting yourself into something
that you're not prepared for.
That's right.
For. That's right.
So I do think that needs to be connected.
Right. That's right.
You have not been groomed.
That's right.
You have not been mentored.
That's
you have not been taught how to. And when I say handle a woman, it's like you need to have the instructional book from God and others to know that you're not dealing with a plaything.
That's right.
That's all.
That's right. Exactly. So a lot of us, we have ambition, but our ambition begins to corrupt us. And so we look at a person that is visible, we look at a person that's popular, we look at a person that's wealthy, or we look at a person that's perceived to be powerful, and our ambition may drive us to want to either be like them or have what they have. And we begin to do whatever we feel we should do in order to get to that position. And along the way, oftentimes we tell a little lie here, a little lie there. We pump up somebody over here and we spin somebody that way. And we begin to manipulate people, not for their best interest, but for our own personal best interest. We really are not sincere. So one of the challenges that people have with some people in our coalition is that, look, you ran for office 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So now they begin to question your sincerity because you don't seem to run for an office for which you have the resources and support to actually be elected and put in a position to deliver goods and resources or affect the quality of life for people of a constituency and build a power base. It seems as though you're running for the thrill of the popularity or the ability to raise money or whatever other little, because whatever else may come with running for elected office, right? So people begin to question your sincerity, right? Justifiably, right? So a lot of us do things out of our ambition. We start with maybe sincerity, but if we don't have a guide, if we don't have a mentor, if we don't have somebody who is laying down a model for us, an example for us to say, okay, this is how you go about getting what you want without hurting other people, deceiving other people, undermining other people, robbing other people, and selfishly manipulating other people, then we fall into the trick bag that leadership in America does. So that's the way of America. That's the way of politics. That's the way of almost every domain. It's okay to lie. It's okay to cheat a little bit. It's okay to steal a little bit. It's okay to be a little vain, a little arrogant, a little all of those things are okay as long as you get where you're trying to go, and then people will applaud you as a success. Right? Nobody will tell about your dark side. They would just applaud you and all of that. So it's hard to find sincere leadership. That's why people lifted up Baba Dick Gregory the way they did, because here's a man that he could have just been a buffoon. He could have just told jokes and been a super duper uber wealthy comedian because he was one of the best at it. But he had something in him that made him sincere, and his sincerity would not allow him to put being funny over being prophetic.
Wow.
And so sincerity is where we have to start, and then we have to have a sense of self-love.
Self-love.
And when I say self-love, I mean that as an individual, and I mean that as a collective. Because when I listen to Black leaders, and when I say that, I mean people who are in positions of leadership and influence, who are very known. They may be on radio every day, television every day, or whatever. When I listen to most of those leaders, they don't really have self-love. And the reason they don't have self-love is because they don't practice the coinciding principle, and that's the pursuit of self-knowledge. So we speak as though we're American. We speak in the jargon of the system. We view solutions according to solutions that have already been jury rigged in the system. When you got a problem, when you fill out this form, you got that problem, you go over here and you petition these people. So most of our leaders only have solutions that are in the context of a white male supremacy system. They don't have solutions that they can't come up with solutions outside of that. So that's why the Honorable Minister Farrakhan always talks about, well, you got a PhD in economics, but you don't have any real solutions for the economy. You got a doctorate or a master's degree in sociology, but you can't figure out how to get society, how to even get people civilized in a society, right? So most of our leaders, not all, we have those exceptions, fewer today than yesterday, but most of us, we view things from the reality that white people have given to us. And so we shudder at men like Dick Gregory or Paul Mooney, or some of the other, or Chris Rock, or some of these comedians who are very, George Carlin, who are very political, right? And they just speak raw truth,
right,
about the BS, right? So if you don't have sincerity, if you don't have self-love, see, how can you lead Black people and you're a drunk? I don't mean you go home at night in the privacy of your home with your wife or your girlfriend or your fiance, and y'all have some drinks and have a good time, and in the morning it's all over. And I'm talking about every day. You a drunk.
Alcohol.
You can't survive without alcohol.
That's right.
Every day, every other day, you got to have. How can you survive?
That's right. It's the truth.
And you can't stop eating.
Right. No control.
You have your lower self is controlling your higher self. And so when my lower self, my urges and appetites from my navel and below are leading me, then the enemy of my people can always pull me in a nice hotel room, a nice banquet hall, a nice area, and feed me good food and give me good liquor and buy me some cohibas and whatever my thing is, and feed my lower appetite and get me to compromise what I claim I'm about. And we got a lot of that.
And make the sleep deeper.
That's right. So when you look at most of us as leaders, or most of those who are recognized by the average black person as leadership, they are not beholden to the other principle that we call self-sacrifice, meaning that, I heard Minister Farrakhan say this one time a long time ago, and I don't know if you were there in this meeting that night, but he talked about how there are things that are lawful for him, if you will, that he still refrains from them because they're lawful for him, because people may not understand. And he talked about how he might be driving down the road and have to go to the restroom real bad, and the only place that's open is a lounge or a bar. And what it would look like if he pulled over to go in the lounge in the bar to relieve himself, and here comes a brother that knows that that's Minister Farrakhan, and see him coming out the lounge or the bar and automatically assume, see, look at that nigga. He ain't all that. He ain't saying what he ain't what he say he is. Here come Minister Farrakhan sneaking out the bar. No, so he said, I won't go in the bar. I won't go in the lounge to relieve myself. Not that I shouldn't, or I don't have a right to, but in leadership, I gotta practice self-sacrifice. Meaning I literally gotta tax my kidney and my bladder, because I know some black person will assume I'm in the bar getting drunk or picking up, whatever they may assume. So self-sacrifice. Do you lead? And this is very hard to do, to lead without expectation of reward.
Wow.
To lead without expectation of a check being cut, to lead without expectation of a grant or a contract or a job or a promotion, to lead because the spirit of the ancestors and the pain of our people require you to step up, irregardless to whether you get an accolade or not. Can you lead from a position of complete self-sacrifice and let Almighty God prove himself in your life, that he will not forsake you when you lead from that principle?
Amen, brother. I mean, that is all of it, pretty much. Not so much all of the principle, but just that, man, making that sacrifice. And look, folks, please share this. If you're viewing this right now, honestly, you see the reason why. I mean, this is an opportunity. Every opportunity. Someone told me this. They say, why do you love children the way you do? And why do children gravitate towards you, around you? I said, because they could feel my spirit. They hear my voice. I'm saying this to you all. When you listen to a brother, Minister Mike, a vessel that God is using, humbly speaking to us, no matter who, look, share it, because this is a conversation as a family, not that it's about beating up somebody, just critiquing them. We are talking about this for our survival, man, because we've been misdirected. We've been led amok. We have been misguided by folks who don't possess. And if they do possess these characteristics, needed characteristics, they are absolutely not displayed in their behavior. Therefore, listen to Mike share this, because this ain't about him. When we talk about new black leadership and leadership as a whole, you gotta now look at the condition where we are, where we need to go, why we have not accomplished what we should have accomplished. We still complaining. We got all this power. So-and-so live in Chicago. So-and-so is from Chicago. The president of the United States was from here. Blah, blah, blah. But look at the condition of our people, Chicago, and the world as a whole. You should be sharing this because you look for popularity. You look for those that, you know, you're accustomed to watching like a movie. You like actors. You don't really like activists. You have been dealing with actors, not activists. And actors have fooled you and pulled the wool over your eyes, and they do it well. That's why they say you'll find Satan, you know, appearing as an angel of light. Right there in the pulpit, right there in the boardroom, right there in your bedroom. Man, look.
That's right.
It's crazy.
Well, that's why I pointed to the situation at the hotel, because I can't parade myself through the community as a preacher, as an activist, and do all these things in the name of activism for Black people. And then one day you see me on prime time news, suicidal, shutting down traffic in the middle of downtown.
Crazy.
And then a few weeks later, after that, even though I'm suicidal, somehow I'm not confined to a mental ward. Somehow I'm not under psychiatric or psychological supervision, and I'm not on retreat from public persona. I'm trying somewhere to recollect my emotions, because if I am having a real emotional breakdown, there's a process I would have had to have gone through to restore myself. But shortly after that, I pop up, I'm running for mayor. Right. And now every tragedy, somehow I'm popping up, speaking out on behalf of families who don't know me, or either I try to beat anybody to the family to get them to allow me to speak on behalf of their loss of their loved one. But I know we're dealing with a multinational corporation who's willing to cut a check because they want to tone down this drama, because now I've whipped up your friends and your family who are hurt over your loss, but I've whipped them up. I've corralled all them to put on this protest, and I've got this shouting match going on, and I've set a stage for my theatrics. Wow. Because I know behind my theatrics, just like I did in Mount Greenwood, when the young brother got shot by the police, I go in the back room on behalf of Black people who didn't ask me to go in the back room. And I come out and tell Black people everything is okay, but I don't tell Black people that I made a deal in the back room, not for their benefit, but for my benefit. For now, I'm in another situation where there's going to be some backroom negotiations, because you got Attorney Larry Rogers, you got Attorney Patch. Now money is going to be talked about, but now I'm going to tug your coat and remind you as the mama and the daddy that I was there first when you was crying and you was hurt. So when they cut the check, why don't you help me out? Because I came and helped you out, because all along that's what I was after anyway. So these are the kind of games that we got to deal with in the Black community, is that people, we want to be something, but we don't know how to be it without becoming tools of the enemy.
And what about the 10? 10 people died in Chicago. Were they there? Did they go on those scenes? Did they go where the four individuals were shot? Did they show up there? Did they show up any other places that are not high profile? And I gotta say this, boy, you brought something out in me that I had to, God put it there, but you helped stir it. I gotta say this. If you are psyched out by the theatrical piece, that many anointed, I've heard this word, they're mentally anointed, where they are crafty in terms of how they present themselves, and they pretty knowledgeable, intelligent, but behind all of that is deceit. And then they're cowards, because it's easy for some of them. You got some, and I'm not going to get into all of that, but you have some that's so gifted to gab, but deep down inside, behind closed doors, they are corrupt. They show up for a check and for confusion. And it is sad that we got that kind of mentality running rampant and loose in our community. Do we have a call? Okay, and folks, if you want to join this conversation, 708-223-8953. But go ahead, Minister Mike. You know, you laid something out, man, to me, because when you say theatrical, I said actors. One and the same.
The same thing. Actors, you can't have theater without actors. and so most of us are actors. I've seen it so many times. Most of we pop up. I was a notorious person on the street. I go to the penitentiary. I take my blows, and now I realize I probably need to do something different. So I come out and I jump on the Stop the Violence bandwagon. But I really want to check. And if it takes too long for somebody to pay me to help stop the violence, then I go back to drug selling and gang banging, because that's all I know how to do. If I'm a second story man, if I'm a purse snatcher, if I'm a card cracker, if I'm a check cutter, if whatever my thing was, I go back to that, because I'm really not saying I want to stop the violence. And part of me wants to stop the violence, in my nature to want to do right. But if it gets too difficult, it becomes protracted, instead of me figuring out a methodology to survive and stand on the principles that now I've discovered, I will fall back into the principles that had me on the dark side, that corrupted my intelligence and my integrity. I'll go right back to that. And we're the same way, whether you a street organizational leader, whether you a grassroots activist, whether you're somebody who's trying to run for elective office. See, most of us running for elective office, we see a salary. If you boil it down, the average person popping up in the black community right now that's saying, I want to run for office, they want to run for office because they see a salary. They see benefits. They see a car. They see a credit card. They see offices. They see the prestige of the materialism wrapped around the office, but they're not fighters. They're not going to stand up to people like Michael Madigan or Mr. Cullerton or Rahm Emanuel or Bruce Rauner or other great, strong, powerful white men in this system. They really are not going to, they really don't have a clue on how to deal effectively with those people. And so that's why most of our elected officials, once they're elected, you don't hear anything about you unless it's something safe, like a cookout or come on out and vote or something for cancer or something real safe. Then when you look at their voting record, they vote with white people, whether it's in the state, the county, or the city. Most of our elected officials vote with white folks. Most of our elected officials, they go and seek support from whites. They've never figured out how to extract the coin out of the black fish's mouth. So they're always reliant on white money more than black money.
So do you think it's an accident, which I know it isn't, that Mr. Bloomberg from New York,
that's right,
multi-billionaire, and you didn't just get your money honestly, but anyway, Mr. Bloomberg supporting, coming here, spending millions of dollars to tell black folks that he's interested in the help the black people when they dine in New York with all kind of conditions to support the Madam President of Cook County.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, I think that Bloomberg actually is interested in the issue of sugar and obesity, because in New York, he did not impose any extra taxation to implement his strategy.
Okay.
Through the vending machines in schools and all of that. He did it in an apparently innocuous way. The other side of that, though, is the connection between powerful men in the white Jewish community, like our mayor and Bloomberg, New York's former mayor, and some of these issues that big money and power have in common with each other. And so Pretwinkle, while we don't really, we claim her as one of our own, even though she's not necessarily a pro-black person, in my opinion, but she is from the black community. She's a black woman with a very powerful seat. And so they used her to get a young man, Todd Stroger, out of that very powerful seat. And now that she's gotten him out of the seat and she has enough, her and Karen Lewis had enough weight in the body politic to challenge for the office of mayor in Chicago. Now they realize that, so now they don't want her in that seat anymore. So they're going to allow her to make blunders that open the door to make her vulnerable, to remove her from that seat, because they don't want, never forget the legacy of Mayor Harold Washington. Mayor Washington won a first term and he caught hell from the 29. But when he overcame the 29 and won a second election, white people went into action and they eliminated Mayor Harold Washington, because they understand that if you let a black person like that, any black person really with any kind of intelligence, hold a power base that long, they begin to dismantle and disrupt white supremacy in some way. So they never want a black person who is not totally bowing down to them to stay in a position of power.
You really you're spewing facts in terms of Mayor Washington and what you said, because when Mayor Washington was in the seat, Independence Bank of Chicago, where I worked for all of the years, it was at that time First National Bank, became Bank One and all this Chase stuff. But First National Bank always had the country, and many from the city, many. They were out at the airport. Harold Washington said, if you think that, you know, if you want this contract, and I know Independence Bank have not been involved with foreign currency, you're going to have to partner with Independence Bank of Chicago. So you either I'm going to make you cut it out, or you're going to have to cut in black people. So from that power base, he was able to open up doors for black people that would never have been opened up. We don't get that. Look, it is not a coincidence or accident that when we talk about white supremacy, look, folks, that really means they are white male. They look out for each other. I'm not mad at them, but I'm mad at us because we don't look out for each other. Yes, and at the end of the day, you got to see, as Minister Mike say, there's sacrifice that have to be made. So if the new black leadership already have a coalition, and we are talking about coalition building, and we have components or committees, and we have among our coalition various organizations and individuals, and it was to expand and is going to expand. It includes many people. We want to hear from our brother with WVON that did the thing with the red light. He got a good program. Just a Mark Wallace. But we got people all over the place who don't want to sit down. Somebody called me this morning and said that Mark Allen said, where is Minister Michael Muhammad and Gregory Singh and Harold Davis at the What's in It for Black People cookout? Well, look, you gotta, why would I have to come to you? We have an organization that all of them are welcome to be a part of, and you can use your mic, you can use your influence, you can use your voice, but we have a plan, a program, a mission, and purpose that if you're not connected to that, why should we just pop up and act as though there's nothing already in motion to deal with some of the things? But go on, Mike.
Well, see, my point about that, if in fact that's what he said, was, you know, we didn't see Mark Allen or Mays Jackson, for that matter, or Charles Thomas, for that matter, when we had a citywide gathering, over 150 activists and organizers in the city. They didn't show up. Mays knows my number. I have his number. There's a reason that Mays has not, he knows the members of the New Black Leadership Coalition, but he hasn't invited I don't think any one of them or any one of us on his platform. There's a reason for that. And when this is something I thank Almighty God for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is the rule I try to use, Brother Gregory. When I deal with other leaders, I do my best. I'm far from perfect at it, but my objective is, if I know you as a long-standing organizer and leader, and I'm having something, when I call something, I've got to have an effort to reach out to you personally.
That's right.
Because you're not a Johnny come lately. You're not a new person on the scene, right? You're not a person that's up and coming. You've already been up and coming, right?
Absolutely.
So those of us who have weight in the movement, now some of the people involved with that scenario, to me, have no weight in the movement. I love Mays as my brother. He's a brilliant guy in his own right. But as I said to Mays Jackson on, one-on-one, Mays, you're a business guy. You're a media voice, but you're not an activist. You're not from the movement. You have no pedigree in the Black movement. Your pedigree is in business. Your pedigree is in Black entrepreneurship. You're developing a pedigree on air. But even that is new. So I'm not going to insult myself by allowing you to treat me through a cattle call, because I've done tremendous work in this community, and I've made many sacrifices that Mays and some of these people involved in these other scenarios will never make, because they don't operate on the same principles I operate on. So so Mark Allen knows me. We've been knowing each other since we were in our super young. Right. So for Mark to say that and not send me a Facebook inbox or hit me on Instagram or ask somebody for my phone number, to say that, we got to go back to sincerity. Because if you really want us present, you don't when you want somebody to go out with you, you don't get on Facebook and say, hey, I'm going to the Cheesecake Factory, and anybody that wants some cheesecake, meet me at the Cheesecake Factory. And you get 10 girls to come, but the girl you wanted to come, that you thought should have been there, don't show up. Now you mad because she didn't show up, but you didn't call her.
And she don't even have a Facebook.
And she don't even have a face. She ain't even paying attention to Facebook. So
yeah, man, I love that you said that. We got to wrap it up. And I want to say this in wrapping it up. Someone even put it out there, and they said, why weren't you the Nation of Islam at Danny Davis Black Male Summit? Because it wasn't a Black Male Summit. It was just something just to do. You don't want the right people in the room. That's why some of you all run away from this show. You run away from the Butt Naked Truth, Harold Davis. You don't even come in the studio. Earl Winfrey, one of the best producers on the planet, gave us and is giving many of us this platform to make sure that we create unity and love. And that's why Minister Mike said, ain't no love lost between us, Mays, Charles, or whoever. But damn it, don't you think that we're gonna make any damn progress without unity. But we gotta address the sickness and the vanity in many of us, using us. And until we do that, then damn it, don't say you're a leader for black people, because you gotta first fix what's wrong with yourself. Thank you, Minister Mike.
Thank you, brother.
Man, I'm telling you, that's why I call you the breath of fire. I'm going back to listen to this myself. Thank you, Brother Earl Winfrey, best producer on the planet. And folks, they got many shows at Intellectual Radio. We just one of them. But we thankful that we've had this opportunity. And thanks for playing my daddy's song, and for you mentioning Mr. Oliver Sandy, the man with the golden horn. Peace out.